This is the Volvo EX30 and it's one of the best-selling EVs in Europe right now. In this video, we're going to find out why. Welcome to Totally Electric, where we test drive electric cars and talk about sustainable mobility. In this video, we're going to do the Electro Exam of the Volvo EX30 single motor extended range. The Electro Exam is our own proprietary format where we test a car according to 8 categories. Each category has its own weight and we sum them all together at the end of the video and we get a final score between 0 and 100. If you want to compare the Volvo EX30 with other cars who's done the Electro Exam, you can do so on our website. I'll put a link below in the description of this video. So the single motor version starts at 39,000 euro here in Spain, but if you want this one, as you see it here, you're going to have to pay 48,000 euros. That'll give you the bigger battery, which is 69 kilowatt hours, though only 64 of those are available to the user, 476 kilometers according to WLTP. You get 276 horsepower to the rear wheels, which will accelerate the car in 5.3 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. Charging is quick, 11 kilowatts in AC and 158 in DC in this version. But what really makes this car interesting is the size and the segment this is in. Because as every single car that comes out now, it's an SUV, but this is a B segment, so it's rather small. So the car is interesting because of its size. It is a relatively small SUV. It'll fit in cities and you can park almost anywhere. It's only 4 meters 23 wide. It's 1 meter 84 wide and 1 meter 56 tall. So it's just in the middle of the segment that we Europeans like for our city cars. At the front we have typical Volvo design. Big logo in the middle, and we got the headlights in the shape of, Thor's hammer. You can almost grab them and start hacking away at stuff. At the top of the windshield we have cameras for the ADAS systems, and in the front we have no cameras down here, but we do have sensors for proximity. On the sides we have air intakes in front of the wheels that'll help us with the aerodynamics, and then we've got 19-inch rims. You can option those up to 20-inch if you feel like. If you look at the side here, you'll see that the rear view mirrors is in the same color as the top part of the car, because this is a bi-color car. I think it looks great that way, by the way. I really like this yellowish color, which is not available in all trims. At the back, the roof design gives a sort of a sporty feel as it merges together with the spoiler in the back. And here we have the charge port. Rear left, perfect for Tesla superchargers, but not great in mainland Europe if you're charging at the side of the road, because it'll stick out on the road. However, if you're in the UK, it couldn't be better. We come round to the back. We got a nice set of rear tail lights which sort of light up in this funny pattern. We've got the third brake light up here integrated into the spoiler. The spoiler, however, is not available on all versions of this car. At the back, more Scandinavian minimalism. It's even hard to find the button to open the trunk. It's hidden inside this black bar here. We open up and we get 318 liters of space, which is quite good for the segment. We've even got some additional space down here where we can hide our cables, drugs or immigrants, whatever we're transporting. But maybe there's a big frunk on this car. Let's open it up and see. We actually have to go inside the car and pull this lever here twice, which is never a good sign. Come down, back to the front, and yes, there seemed to be something here. We open it up and there's the smallest frunk in the history of EVs. 7 liters. I mean, you can hardly fit a shoe in there. So we're testing the range of the EX30 on the highway. Official WLTP range is 476 kilometers. That's the same as 296 miles. However, that's WLTP. I'm doing highway at highway speeds. Got the highway right here. I have 98% battery. Let's go. So I've done 75 kilometers so far, and I'm using 223 watt hours per kilometer. That's relatively high for this kind of car, but that is because the route I'm doing is uphill at the beginning, and then I'm going to turn around and come back to where I started from. So hopefully it should even out a bit. Today is a nice sunny day, 29 degrees Celsius, and hardly any wind. Perfect for driving. There's a little bit of traffic, but not much, and so far I haven't had any problems whatsoever. As you can see, I'm doing 123 kilometers now instead of 120. 120 is the legal maximum, but I just checked on my high precision GPS, and 123 is the same as what is actually 120 according to the GPS, which is much more precise. And it also allows me to compare between different cars. So yeah, I'm actually doing 120, even though it says 123 there. Here's the funny thing about this car. There are no driving modes. It's just driving. There's no like eco and sport and what's not. It's just drive. The only thing I can actually adjust is accelerator pedal should come to a full stop. But that said, it wouldn't really affect anything here while driving. I also have the aircon or climate control set to 21 degrees Celsius because I do that all the time. I don't want to travel with those things off. I want to make as real a travel experience as possible. So those are the conditions for today's range test. If you've got any suggestions as to how far you think this car will go on 100% charge, put them down in the comment below. I have 55% battery left. If I turn around now, I'll end up at the charging station with only 7% of battery left, which is just perfect for this kind of test, right? We want to spend as much battery as possible while we're driving, and then later on we can charge up from almost zero, so we'll get the fastest rate of charge that we can. So great. Let's just hope that this 7% is precise enough and I don't end up there with less, because it is cutting it close, isn't it? All right, so 150 kilometers to get back to the charger. We've done about 170 so far. Let's see if this holds up. Let's see how well the car does for planning a trip. So I'm going to use the voice command system here, and I'm close to Madrid in Spain now, but let's try to go far from here. Let's go to Bristol in England.
Navigate.
So it's really quick. It takes no time whatsoever, and it's planned a trip, a 22-hour trip. It's even found 7 chargers I have to stop at on the way. It tells me how much time I have to spend at each charging stop, how much energy I'm going to have when I get there. It's pretty much perfect there. The only thing I could possibly complain a little bit about is that it sometimes selects chargers that aren't the fastest options. So let's see the charging stops here. The first one, it selects one from Endesa. I know this charger. It's 60 kilowatts, which is a little bit slow, and close by there's another one which operates at 360 kilowatts. So maybe it should have selected the fastest charger. But hey, you know what? That's a minor detail. The most important thing is that it plans a route, it plans the charging stops, and it does it so that I can feel safe that I will always get to my destination, even though I am traveling from Madrid to Bristol in England, right? This is my exit. This is where the charger is located. I'm done with this test. It said I was going to get here with 6%, but I've got 10% now. It's still predicting me to go down another percent and end with 9%, but I can literally see the charger right there. So now we're just going to stop and bring out the calculator to see what is the full range on this vehicle well, driving in sunny Spain on a beautiful day like today. All right, let's go check it out. Okay, we're done with the range test, and we've done a total of 306 kilometers. By the way, I'm going to talk in kilometers, and then I'm going to put miles up on screen here for you people that use that system, but I can't do the calculations in my head. Sorry. So 306 kilometers, but we still have 10% left on the battery, and we're left with 98%. So we're going to have to add 12% on top of that to know what the exact range is using 100% of the battery. And that would then be, using math, 346 kilometers. So that's the range you can expect from a car like this on a sunny day. Today it was between 29 and 35 degrees Celsius. We had nearly no wind. There was very little traffic, so I was able to maintain a good speed, 114 kilometers per hour as our medium speed, which is very, very good. The car uses 18.9 kilowatt hours to do 100 kilometers. Using a bit of math, it means that to check how much we have to charge to do another 200 kilometers, we have to charge 37.8 kilowatt hours, which is what we're going to test right now in the charger here. It started at only 60 and it stayed there for about 2 minutes. The smart #3 I had a few days ago did exactly the same. And funny enough, they're on the same platform. So maybe the Geely platform needs some time to adjust or something before it kicks in at truly high speed. But now it's charging at more than 150 kilowatts. Okay, we've been charging for 15 minutes now and we charged around 30 kilowatt hours. And speed has dropped to 88 kilowatts, but you know, we're at 56% state of charge. So we only need a little bit more in order to do another 200 kilometers. Let's see how long time it takes. I had to get out of the sun. I'm under this wonderful, by the way, solar powered canopy. Look at that. That is beautiful. That's what you want in your charging stations because it gives a shade and it gives energy to the whole system here, which is great. Out there in the sun, it's cooking. It's scorchio, 35 plus degrees in the summer sun here in Spain. I wanted to recommend that if you're traveling to Spain in the summer, that you try out these Thunder charging stations. They're reliable. There's more than 100 of them around, and many of them are super fast charging. Now this one at 360 kilowatts. You don't even have to download their app or use the card like I do. You can do interoperability with other operators. You can pay with a credit card, so you don't have to mess around with any apps whatsoever. Okay, we've done it. We've gone slightly above 38 kilowatt hours now, and it took us 21 minutes. So there's your answer. If you want to charge 200 kilometers or 120 miles in this car, it's going to take you 21 minutes. Not bad. So we're done with the charging challenge. Next up, let's see how this car actually moves. Is this a driver's car? Let's take it for a spin. I'd like to ask you a question. If you're traveling, how much time do you think it's reasonable to stop for a charge? How much time would you stop with your family to, I don't know, grab a bite of food or maybe just visit the bathrooms or something? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes? Put a comment down below. I do appreciate all the comments, especially when they're kind. Okay, let's see how this car actually moves. Now, here's a funny detail. This steering wheel is so light. It moves so easily. I can steer this with my pinky if I wanted to. So I went into the menu, went to settings, driving, and in here I see that the steering wheel feel is already set to firm. What? This isn't firm. What are you talking about? Now, if I set it to soft, I can steer using just my thoughts, I guess. I mean, there's absolutely no resistance in this steering wheel. Very little feel for what the front wheels are actually doing there. So let's get back to firm-ish and see how this drives. Here's a curve. Yeah, you have to force it a bit in order to get it unsettled, even though you got traction onto the rear wheels and 272 horsepower. It's a good combination. But it's a good suspension on this car. It's well fitted. There's good control. Whenever the rear part steps out, I can control it. It's not like, oh, I'm losing control and I'm gonna end up in the bush. No. I can do this. I can do it with fun and with little stress. And yeah, it would be fun if I crashed now, wouldn't it? But no, this car drives well. Suspension is firm-ish. So firmer than we know from many other Chinese brands, but maybe not as firm as you would expect from a performance European brand. But still, this is a good middle of the road kind of thing. Not too firm, not too uncomfortable. So yeah, a well set up car. Drives nicely, goes nicely around the bends. And yeah, let's check out if it actually accelerates like it's supposed to. So let's check out the 0 to 100 time in this one. It's supposed to be 5.3 seconds. I'm using a Draghi high precision GPS to measure that. So that's magnetic, so I can just stick it on top of the car. Stays there, and it connects to my phone, and it'll give me a very, very precise 0 to 100. Nothing special to do, just put the car out on the road and hit the accelerator. I've got 91% of battery, so it should give us a good reading. Okay, I've done a few test runs now, and I get basically the same result every single time. Official time 5.3, my time, as you can see there in the middle of the screen, 5.35. I'm sure that with the right conditions, we could do exactly 5.3 without any problems. So in my book, this car does what it promises. 5.3 seconds, 0 to 100. Good job, Volvo. Now, the driving modes are very easy on this car because there are none. There's just, the standard way of driving it. There are no setup. There's nothing you can change. The only thing you can actually do, remove or add one pedal driving, which means, now I've just put it on, that if I let go of the pedal, it will come to a full stop. Let's see if that is actually true. Come on. Yes, here we are. We stopped. This is nice. I like that. That's the best way for an electric car to be set up. That means that if I'm driving in the city, I can drive and accelerate and decelerate without ever touching the braking pedal. Unless a kid jumps out in front of me or something surprises you on the road, right? And that's a very comfortable way, just slightly up and down on the accelerator pedal. That's the way all electric cars should be set up. However, it would be nice to have, I don't know, an eco mode that gives you a bit more range, or a sport mode that really toughens up the car or something like that. But no, you just got whichever mode this is. Same thing with the EC40 from Volvo, which I tested just a few weeks back. Funny, they don't give you any driving modes, but you know what? I actually like the way it's set up, so maybe it's good. Maybe you don't need all these other driving modes if the driving mode they give you is just spot on. All right, inside the Volvo EX30, and the first thing that you will absolutely notice in here is that this is just a wide open Scandinavian style minimalistic space. There's no fancy materials in here, but most of all there's just like one interface that you can use, and that's this main screen here in the middle. I have no screen behind the steering wheel, just like in a Tesla. I have no heads-up display. All I've got is this screen here, and it's vertical, so you have to adapt a little bit to using it, and sometimes while you're driving you do miss maybe to have your speed or something in front of you. But this minimalism and wide open space also makes it feel like it's a bigger car than it actually is. For example, here in the middle I've got loads of space. I can put a bag, 2 bags, shopping, a couple of kids, a stroller, I don't know, lots of space here in the middle. And then I've got this armrest here, which funnily enough you can't open it up. There's no way to access it from above. However, you can push this bit here and it slides out a drawer where you can hide your stuff inside. In fact, this is the only place where you have cup holders in the front, but you have to like slide out another bit. So now you have 2 cup holders. But what if you only want 1 drink? What if you don't want 2 drinks? Because who wants 2 drinks? I do today with the heat on today. You can actually push it back and now you got just 1 cup holder out. All right, why not? Seems kind of silly, but hey, it works. Aside from that, if this space wasn't wide open enough, you can even open it, and beneath it you got like even more space and 2 USB-C ports. If you don't want to use the USB-C ports down there to charge your phone, you can use the wireless charger, of which there is one here. It's located here and it's quite vertical, so your phone is sort of sit upright. You have interior lighting and regular air vents, but you control most of it from the screen. The materials are nice quality materials. They're not the most common materials you see around here in cars. You got this thing here which is somewhere between fabric and plastic and similar to what you have on the seats. Up here on the dashboard and where you would usually find the glove box, you have sort of a non-woven recycled material. In fact, I think they're making a statement about this being eco-friendly because it have all this texture that makes it look recycled. So if this is sort of a recycled material, how do you actually open it and access the glove box? Well, you got it here on screen. You have a little button here on screen, and then, oh, it opened in the middle. Have you ever seen a car with the glove box in the middle? Well, me neither. The steering wheel is, very, very thin to grab. It's not the most comfortable of steering wheels because it is so thin. It's not chunky and muscular like a BMW. It's more like fiddly and tiny. Maybe that's what people want to get around in a city car. Other than that, the materials are quite good and they're very, very well adjusted in here. There are no squeaks, no rattles, no extra gaps or anything like that. It's really well built here. There's one place, however, where I think Volvo has gone just a bit overboard on the minimalism. Do you know how on most cars you have buttons to roll down the windows on your doors? So you got like 4 buttons on your left hand side, you got a button on each one of the other doors. Now Volkswagen were clever enough to think, why do we need 4 buttons when we can actually do with 2, and then we have a button to change between rear windows and front windows? Well, here in Volvo, they've gone one step further. So instead of having buttons on the left and buttons on the right, they thought, why don't we just put the buttons for the windows in the middle? And we put a button on it to change between, managing the rear windows and the windows in the front. So you only got 2 buttons here instead of 4 + 1 + 1 + 1. Yeah, minimalism, I guess, but it's also quite annoying because whenever I do this, I'm not quite sure if I'm rolling down my window or my kid's window in the back. As for space, there's plenty of it. I'm 6'4" or 1'90". I fit very well here in the front of the car. I have plenty of headspace as well. Let's go to the back and see how well do I fit there. All right, let's see how I fit inside the EX30 in the back seats. Okay, already I'm having problems, to be honest. It's not the biggest of spaces. In fact, my knees are touching here in front and my head is touching the roof. So a guy who's 6'4" or 1'90" won't fit behind the seat if another guy of the same size as driving. Maybe for kids this is all right, but for me it's a little bit tight here in the back. Funny thing, I've got vertical buttons to open and close my windows here. I've got sort of a little shelf for my phone and 2 USB-C ports. But here's the thing, inside the middle center console here, I can actually pull out. What is this? What is this? A place for storing stuff with Swedish drawings on it. This is an elk and a pine tree. I don't know. This is the most Swedish thing I've ever seen. Right, so that's where I can store my stuff. And good thing I have that, because I can't put the middle bit down. There's no way to open it here. At least I haven't found any way to do it. So there's no cup holders here for me in the back. It is very, very minimalist. Yeah, so space is a little bit snuck in here in the back. Materials are nice, as always in this. Yeah, but they could have made it a little bit bigger. If you want to talk about technology in this car, you have to talk about this vertical screen I've got here in the middle, because first of all, it is basically the only visual interface I have. I have no screen behind the steering wheel. I've got no heads-up display, no nothing. So it's not always great. I have to look a bit over on the right if I want to see if my ADAS is activated up here in the top right-hand corner. It's a bit fouled on the right-hand side of my peripheral vision, but the system itself is marvelous. It's an Android automotive system. So it's basically Google in a car, and it's connecting with your phone or with your Google account. So if I visited some place and I've saved it on my Google Maps on my phone, it'll pop up on my car later on. And I can see the full history of every place I've ever searched for on Google Maps. Wonderful. When I want to go somewhere, I can just use the voice assist, for example. Okay, Google, take me to Bristol. So it's gonna calculate a route from here in Madrid, Spain, to Bristol in England, and it's going to put all the charging stops I need on the way, and it's going to do it with the precision that we're used to from Google Maps. It's even going to alert me if there's a speed camera. It's also perpetually connected to the internet, so I've got all these apps available to me, and if I want more, I have. So with the internet connection, I have access to a full set of applications here, and if I want even more, I can go into the Play Store and install the ones I want. You can imagine installing something for music, audiobooks, navigation, video games, even YouTube and video replay here. Wonderful system, works really well, and works really fast. And since it's all Google, we already know how it works, right? If I go into the settings and I come to charging, I also got the perfect set of parameters I can adjust. I can adjust the maximum battery charge, so I can make sure my battery doesn't degrade over time. I can limit the charging current, which is super useful if I, for example, have an installation at home where I can't just put up to 32 amps all the time and don't want to blow a fuse. I can also schedule charging for when I pay less for my energy. So they've sort of thought about this thing, and it works really well. Of course, I get system updates over the air. I don't even have to, plug it into a Wi-Fi or anything like that. I've had this car for a week and it's already had one update. There aren't all that many driving settings. I've mentioned them a little bit before when we talked about the driving experience, but you know what? It's enough for me. The sound system in this one is Harman Kardon. It sounds good, but most of all, it's extremely loud. When we tried it before, we could only put it up to half, and then it was already so loud you could hardly stand being in here. I guess if you put it up to 11, it's going to blow your eardrums out. The only thing I'm missing from this system is Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, because I can't mirror my phone up on the screen. But honestly, with the Android automotive system, I don't really need to, right? It's pretty good the way it is. I mean, they've really thought through things. So if I go into the settings, I can easily turn on and off the speed limit warnings, which is the most annoying thing that has come to new cars in at least a century. A lot has been said about the software errors on this car, and I must admit, I've had some as well. Yesterday, the driver alert system wasn't functioning all day. I had an error message up on screen saying, system not available, take the car to service. But when I came back down to the car this morning, it had rebooted and everything was working, perfectly well. So it was clearly just a software issue where the car had to reboot and everything's back to normal. Aside from that, the car's been great. This car is equipped in this version with a level 2 driver assist system called Pilot Assist, and it works quite well. It'll keep the correct distance to the car in front of me, and it'll keep me in my lane, turning the wheel accordingly.
It will also actually change the lane for me if I put on the blinkers. However, it doesn't work all the time. Like, for example, there's a lorry in front of me now and I should be able to overtake it. So I put on the blinkers. The car's not changing lanes. For some reason, it doesn't think it should do it now. So I have to manually go and do it. Oh, whoa, whoa. What a first world problem. But it works sometimes. You'll see a little square, green square appear up here when it thinks that it can actually do it. It's just not very often. Oh, there you go. Now it can do it. Oh, now it can't. So it was there for a second and then it was gone. The car can also automatically adapt to the legal speed limit, which it erroneously sets to 130 here in Spain. There are no roads with 130 kilometer speed limits in Spain. The maximum legal limit here is 120. So it's got that data wrong. It does, however, read signs. So if it sees 120, it'll can set the speed automatically to 110 and 20. I'm not using that right now because I'm doing the range test where I need to keep the speed at 122, not 120. And if it were to read the speed sign, it would constantly drop me down a couple of kilometers per hour, which is no good for me, but it might be okay for normal usage, so to say. It keeps me well within the lane and it communicates well with me the fact that it is activated because the steering wheel is a bit firmer to grip. There's no capacitive detection of my hands. It's all based on torsion or torque on the steering wheel. There is, however, a little screen down here that'll see if my eyes are actually facing forward and I'm paying attention. If I start to fiddle too much with the screen or get distracted somehow, messages will pop up on the screen saying, pay attention or take a nap or something. That's all right. This car has phantom braking issues sometimes, especially when we're overtaking a lorry like this and there's a curve. I'm driving with the... Look, it's braking. Why is it braking? That is a complete phantom braking. I was already past the lorry. Huh. This is exactly the same thing that happens sometimes in a Tesla, and the EX30 does the same. Aside from communicating with the driver, the fact that it's in use by hardening the turning of the steering wheel, there's also some graphics up here that tells me in green that it is on. It's okay. However, it is a little bit off to the side. And just like in the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, I would have liked to have something in front of me that gives me sort of a clearer, more direct view of whether this is engaged or not. Furthermore, this being a vertical screen means that it's even further out to the right than on a Tesla. So I do appreciate the minimalism and I do like that. However, having just this screen vertically, it does mean that the communication, the visual communication of whether the driver assistance features are on or off, they're a little bit off to the side. Okay, so let's talk about the driver assistance features and let's try to use them here on something that's not exactly a highway. We're just gonna get out of this little town here. By the way, you can hear the beam, beam, beam every time I go slightly above the speed limit. I can easily turn that off with just one click on a button here. Let's see. It'll say, alert deactivated. Thank you. So now we're leaving this town and we're just driving on a normal road. There's not a highway or anything like that. I can push once down on the stalk here and then it'll turn on the driver assistance features, the lane keep assist, and then I can use the buttons here to adjust my speed accordingly. I can go 90 here, which seems like a lot for this curve. Yes, indeed. The car was going to go out and the curve was going to go not completely straight, but almost. So you see that before any curve, any driver assistance features will have to dynamically adjust to the road conditions. Like this one should be done at 60. Max speed allowed here is 90. So I'm going to put it to 90 and oh, we got some roadworks coming up here. So I have to go down to 60. Clickety, 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 come on. Okay. Now we have to go all the way down to 40 because of the roadworks. Now I have to do this with the buttons here on my left-hand side. Some cars will automatically adjust. And I think this one can actually do it, but maybe not in this trim version. So now we're doing 40 on this road. Now roadworks, I think, has ended, so now we can do 60 again. Right. So let's drive a bit at, this is crazy. We've got a 60 sign. 2 meters further back, we got a 40 sign. So I guess I gotta go down to 40 again. It's ridiculous. Okay, so now I'm doing 40. Here's a curve. It's quite come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. No, it's not going to go around it. No, I had to take over there. And this is the story with these driver assistance features. They work well on the highway, and you can use them on the highway, and they'll add a lot of security, and you will be the co-pilot. They will be the main pilot. However, on secondary roads like this one, that's just not what's happening. You have to stay attentive. You have to be driving, and they're not really made for this. They don't add anything to the driving experience. They certainly don't add any security, because you might think that they can do it, and then they can't, and then they'll surprise you by driving off the road. There you go, it nearly drove off the road, but then it corrected itself back in again. And yeah, they're not good for this, but they are good for highway driving.
Let's go over the scores for the Volvo EX30 single motor extended range. We have 8 categories, each with its own weight contributing to the final score, which ends up being a number between 0 and 100. First, let's talk about range and efficiency, which accounts for 20% of the final score. We did the test in very good conditions with sunshine, hot weather and not much wind. The average speed was high at 114 km per hour. Even so, the Volvo used only 18.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Total range came to 346 kilometers, so it scores 6 out of 10. Charging. This category is 10% of the final score. We charged the car at 156 kilowatts, and the speed stayed consistent up to almost 40% state of charge. It took 20 minutes to charge 37.8 kilowatt hours, which corresponds to the next 200 kilometers. The information provided on the car's display is clear and accurate at all times, and I love how it helps with route planning and finding chargers. We also have high hopes that, with updates, it may one day support bidirectional charging. Therefore, it gets 8 points in the charging category. Driving and performance. As promised, it accelerates from 0 to 100 km per hour in 5.3 seconds, and being a rear-wheel drive car, it's fun and easy to control. The regenerative braking is good, the suspension is more than adequate, and it's even a bit sporty. However, the steering wheel feels very soft and doesn't give much feedback, making it feel disconnected from the wheels, and there are no driving modes to adjust to different preferences. I give 7.5 points for driving and performance. Interior and quality. This category accounts for 15% of the final score. The materials used in the interior are budget-friendly, or rather they're standard quality, not premium, but they're well assembled and well fitted, and the minimalist interior is good. I do miss having a display behind the steering wheel, and the rear seating space is quite limited. The trunk is adequate, and while the front exists, it is tiny. Therefore, it scores 7 points in the interior and quality category. Exterior and design. This category is 10% of the final score, and of course it's very subjective. I love the dimensions and the look of the Volvo EX30. I think it stands out in its segments for its sportiness and practicality, with 5 doors and even an option for towing. The charging port is positioned left rear, which is one of the best spots, so I give it 8 points in this category. Technology. It lacks additional screens, but the Android Automotive Assistant and voice recognition are an absolute delight, offering countless possibilities. You can even download additional apps and use internet connectivity anytime. The only downside here is the absence of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It gets 7 points in the technology category. Driver assistance. This category accounts for 5% of the final score. The Level 2 driver assistance works really well on highways, adapting to speed limits and even changing lanes with the turn signal. It offers good functionality, however, the sensor screen can make it difficult to see if the system is active, which is a significant drawback, along with the fact that it is easily deactivated on secondary road. I give it 5 points for driver assistance. Price. This category represents 20% of the final score. To compare the Volvo EX30 single motor extended range, we can look at, for example, the Hyundai Kona Electric, which has a nearly identical price. The Hyundai has slightly more range but charges much slower and has much slower acceleration. Then we have the Smart #1 with the same platform, but its larger size and weight reduces its range, and its price is €1,000 more than the Volvo. Inevitably, we can compare it with the Renault Megane E-Tech. The Renault has a price similar to the Volvo, slower acceleration and slightly less range. However, the rear seats in the Megane are slightly larger than those in the Volvo. With those comparisons, it's clear that Volvo is very competitive in its segment, so we give it 7 points for price. This brings us to the final score of the Volvo EX30 single motor extended range to 69 out of 100 points. If you want to compare the Volvo with other cars that have gone through the Electro Exam, you can do so on our website, where you can also adjust the weight of each category to find the car that best fits your needs.
So that is the Volvo EX30 single motor extended range. There are plenty of good reasons to choose this car. The size, the price point, the design, and of course, the minimalist interior, which is still technologically advanced. What do you think about the car? Leave a comment down below. I read them all and I enjoy them very much, especially when they're kind. Thank you very much for watching the video. I'm Lars and you've been watching Totally Electric.